Hi, my name is Nancy. Today's Friday Sews. In today's edition, I'm going to talk to you about my favorite sewing notions. Which ones I like the most? Which ones do I use the most? If that sounds interesting to you, don't go away. First, I'd like to thank Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting this wonderful hashtag that we can all get together on Fridays and share what we've been doing all week. Well, as I said, I would like to show you some of my favorite sewing notions. I'm sure some of the things here on the table are things you use all the time too. Or maybe it's something you've not used before and hadn't thought about using it. And also, if there's something you use all the time that you don't see on my table here, let me know. It might be something I might be interested in using myself. Well, before we get into my notions, let me tell you about the top I'm wearing. It's a Simplicity 9546. It's what the model is wearing. Actually, this is the top I actually started last year and didn't finish it, and I finally finished it to wear this summer. So, okay. Why don't we just start over here? This is what I use for my tracing paper. I like to trace my patterns. It is from Alvin. It's 55W-J lightweight tracing paper roll. Now, I know you can get things cheaper, but I really like this paper. It's 24 inches and it's 50 yards. It is $40. I got it on Amazon, but you can buy it from Alvin themselves. I just really like this paper. It's not too heavy. It's not too thin, and it's really great for tracing. And of course, it lasts me a good long time. And when I do trace a pattern, I put it in my envelope with my the rest of the patterns, and I use it over and over again. So I get my money's worth out of this. I really do. Of course, anything here that I can link in my description box, I will. And when I'm tracing my patterns, I like to use a mechanical pencil. This is just a Paper Mate. I just find that it traces better than a regular pencil. It just seems sharper and does a better job. All right, let's look at my measuring tools. Now, I've had this T-square a long time, and I use it all the time. I've actually used it when I painted. There's probably a little bit of paint on the edge. Use a T-square all the time. And then I've got a collection of these gauges. I mean, we all probably have more than one that we use, and they come in handy for quite a few different things. And of course, you've got your tape measure. I've got like 3 of those. And then I got this from Madame Sews. I don't use it as often as I thought I would, but it's for hemming. When you turn your hem up and you can iron your hem, you can iron right on top of this. It's heat resistant. And it actually does a pretty good job. Then, let's see. I have this, and I actually got it from my advent calendar over the Christmas time. It's a point turner and a button gauge. I've not used it as a button gauge, but I have used this for a turner. But I have found my favorite tool for turning and poking and getting those points nice and crisp, a paintbrush. I just find the end of a paintbrush. I know some people use a knitting needle or chopsticks, but I found this seems to work real well. This one here, I think it's because it's so pointy. I'm always afraid I'm going to poke through the fabric, and this one's more dull, and it does a really good job. Let's see, what else do I have? Of course, you have to have your handy dandy seam rippers. This one right here, I actually got from that advent calendar in one of the days of that, and I use it all the time. And I've got this other one here, and I got that in that box of sewing notions my husband found at one of those houses that people were moving and getting rid of their stuff. Then I've got these tweezers. You know those tweezers that they give you that comes with your serger, and they don't tweeze. I don't know if that's a word, but they don't tweeze. So these are just regular tweezers, and they really hold onto the thread, because when you're trying to thread your serger, your fingers get in the way, and I find this really works. And just works so much better than the tweezers that they give, because they just don't come together. All right, why don't we look at my cutting tools? I bought these scissors They're called LDH scissors. They're from Canada. And the reason I bought this particular pair of scissors is Janelle from Rosary Apparel. She recommended these scissors, and I've had them maybe a couple years, and she had a little discount code that I could get them a little cheaper. These are 10-inch. They have different sizes, and they're pretty hefty, and I only cut fabric with them, but they're really good. Then I have a pair of pinking shears from Fiskars. And this pink handled pair, I got these from Walmart. They're just for cutting paper. So if you get your PDF patterns and you want to cut, that's only for paper. Now, for the longest time, I used a little Fiskars scissors for my snips, and they work great. They're really sharp. But I find when you use them, you have to pick them up and put your fingers in them and put them down. So I went and bought these when they had a 50% off sale at Joann's. So I bought one for myself and one for my sister. I like these better because you can pick them up, snip, if I don't drop them, snip, and put them down. So you don't have to put your fingers in. They're just so much, I think they're just so much more easier to work with. Another cutting tool I have, of course, is your rotary cutter. This is from Arteza. I think I bought this on Amazon. And let's see, I looked it up on Amazon, and I couldn't find the 45 millimeter, but they do have the 60 millimeter on, and they said that was $16.90, no, $22. The pack of 12 pack of the blades, I got that on Amazon, and that was a pack of 12 for $16.90. I usually use this when I'm doing my knits, and I remember I was using it, and it kept skipping. I was having to get my scissors out and cut where I missed, and finally I decided probably my blade is dull. Well, got new blades, put the new blade in, and boy, whew, just cut like butter. So, you know, I don't want maybe not think that maybe my blade was dull. So that's my cutting tools. Okay, over here, I bought this. Now, it is no longer available. I got this at Amazon. It is a notcher, Lorje. I guess that's the company name, Lorja, I don't know. It's stainless steel, but it is currently unavailable. But you can get them anywhere. I really like it. So, my notch cutter. Let's see what else I have. Now these are just cheapy needle threaders. Bought them at Hobby Lobby. I like these, and I also got this one actually in that advent calendar, little flower. I use these when I have to tuck the tail in from when I'm using my serger, and because you know there's not just one thread, there's 3 or 4 threads, and I use these with a larger needle with a larger eye on it, and that helps me pull those threads in from the serger so that I can tuck those in. So I use that a lot. I have 2 magnetic pin holders I got from Hobby Lobby. The reason I have 2 of them, I keep one at my sewing machine and one here in my cutting table. That way I don't have to keep, you know, taking it back and forth. You know, I'll use the pins here at my cutting table, go over to the sewing machine, and when I'm taking out the pins, when I'm sewing, I'll put it in the other one. And then when one starts getting empty, I just switch them out. So I use those all the time. I really like those a lot. Let's see, what else do I have? Well, call me lazy, but I bought these at Walmart. Bobbins, already threaded. Now, I use a lot of black and white, and there's a few other colors, but the other day I'm sewing along and my brother machine does tell me when my bobbin's getting low. I like that about it, that I'm not just sewing along and realize I didn't have any bobbin thread. It will warn me and tell me it's getting low. So I ran out of the white and I just popped one in and kept on going. So I do like this a lot. Now this actually came with my sewing machine. And you all know what this is. This is to make buttonholes. But what a lot of people have not used is this. Let me see if I can hold it a little higher, a little closer for you. This is to use to put your buttons on your sewing machine. I love this thing. You do have to turn off your feed dogs because you don't want it moving back and forth. And yeah, it will hold your button in place, and you just have to be careful and get the zigzag just right where it goes in the holes. And once you put it on, it's simple. You just take your button where you've placed it, where you marked it. I just put a little piece of Scotch tape across it to hold the button in place, and this works great. And it's so much easier than all that hand sewing. Another thing I bought was an invisible zipper foot. I bought this on Amazon, and I got it for, right now it's on Amazon for $4.99, $5, an invisible zipper foot. And this is very invaluable if you're going to do invisible zippers because it helps guide the zipper. So I love that. Haven't done an invisible zipper in a while. Walking foot. This does not come with my machine. I know there's some machines like Pfaff maybe that has them built in and they drop down or something so you don't have to change it out. But this thing is very, very handy. I used it actually quite a bit this week. And the walking foot for the brother is $12.99 on Amazon. Another thing I like to use is the heat erasable marking pens. And I bought this from Madame Sews. And it comes with 4 colors, and each one has a refill. But I found with these, the white doesn't do a whole lot for me. I like the blue. The red, I don't think showed up that much, and there's black. So what I did was, since I knew I liked the blue the best, I bought me a pack of refills. There's 100 of them. Let me tell you, if you buy the 4-pack with the refills, that is $16.99. But I got this 4-pack, the refills for $12.92 from Amazon. So 100 of these, and they fit in your Madame Sews. So I thought this is really a good bargain, and they do last a good long. I think it'll last me forever. But I use this all the time when I'm marking. Another thing I have, I haven't had it very long, but the Stitch Witchery and the fusible webbing. I've used that a couple of times, and I like it a lot. But here's something I like a lot, and this is to make your own bias binding. It comes in, there's 5 of them, and let's see, I wrote it down how much it cost. $35.78 on Amazon. It's Clover. Now, the 2 I use the most, I've gone ahead and marked them. One says 2 inch and one says 1 inch. What that means is I need to have the fabric needs to be 2 inches wide, the strip needs to be 2 inches wide, and this strip needs to be 1 inch wide because they've got numbers. This says 12 and that says 25, and I don't know if that's a millimeters or what. But these are 2 of my favorite. I've never used this great big one. That thing's huge. And then there's 2 others, this size and this much, much smaller size. But I do like making my own bias binding, but the 2 that I've got marked are the 2 I use the most. Now, I think I've shown you everything on the table. I've got a couple of things here that I got and thought I would use, and I didn't that much. One, I think this came from Madame Sews. There's a little magnet on it. This is a thing that you put on your sewing machine and helps gauge your seam allowance. You put it on, and then you run your fabric right along the side of it. I found I don't use that much. I've got markings on my sewing machine, and I've only used it a couple of times, and I found it just wasn't, to me, that helpful. The other thing was I bought this bodkin. This is where you, put your elastic in, and you pull this tight. It holds your elastic, and then you're running it through the channel. Well, I used it once, and I don't know, this right here came loose. That part came loose, and then I lost my elastic. I find using a safety pin works just as well. Different size safety pin. So I bought this thinking it'd be great, and it just didn't really seem to work so well for me. So, okay. I think I've shown you everything. These are all my favorite notions that I use quite a bit all the time. So, do you use any of these notions? I'm sure a lot of them, are pretty standard. And maybe you've got a notion that you like to use that I haven't mentioned, that maybe I ought to look into. Okay, well, that's what's going on here. I do want to tell you a little bit about last week. I didn't have my sewing machine with me last week. I was on vacation with the family in Orange Beach, Alabama. And if you watched, I put a little short video last week just to show me walking on the beach. So I didn't get any sewing done last week, but we had a really good time. I'm proud that I didn't get sunburn. I really laid on the sunscreen and try not to get out in the sun for too long at a time. I burned. When I was a kid, I didn't burn, but I do now. So we had a really, really good time, but I was real anxious to get back and start sewing again. So, well, anyway, that's what I have for you today. So let me know, what's your favorite notion? Are any of these your favorites, or do you have other favorites that you'd like to suggest to me to use? Well, you all take care now, and you God bless. Goodbye.